We are live now.
Okay, we are live now, sir. We're good to go. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to play the
Yes, sir.
video.
SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Engineering, Medical and Health Sciences, Management, Science and Humanities, Law, Agriculture Sciences. Admissions open.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anup. I welcome all participants to this wonderful session of Day 3 Celebrity Talks by SRM Institute of Science and Technology, proudly School of Architecture and Interior Design. I thank you all for being such lovely participants here. I kindly request you to kindly mute your mics and turn off your videos so that we may have an uninterrupted session with the speaker. I kindly thank you for your cooperation ahead. Kindly request you to mute all your mics and your videos so that we may be able to focus on an uninterrupted session. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir. Dr. P. Satish Kumar, our Dean and Convener for the Celebrity Talks 2020.
Good evening, everybody. Respected speaker, Professor Raja, the moderator, and all the participants here. It's a warm welcome for everybody. I'm sure, Raja, there's no need of any introduction for him. Anyway, that's why he's a celebrity. But anyway, as a matter of fact, as a formality, there's a formal introduction may happen. Of course, I know Raja for at least 10, 15 years' time. A very modest beginning started, and now he has grown to a national level with whatever platform it is, either it is an IEA or a COA or a triple ID or a teacher or a researcher or a practicing architect, and also in many other social platforms, a multifaceted personality. Of course, a very good friend of mine. Of course, nothing more to say, not only for me, for anybody here, or at least for most of us here. So, anyhow, Raja will come. We'll conclude the end of the session. Thank you so much. Welcome, Professor Raja.
I kindly request you, if you have any questions during the session, to send it to the moderator. You can see the moderator in the participants. Kindly send your questions to the moderator. Professor Kritika will be the moderator for the evening. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I'm Kritika. Good evening all. Assistant Professor in SRM School of Architecture and Interior Design. I welcome you all for the Celebrity Series 2020. Today we have architect Raja with us. He started off his architectural education at Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, and after pursuing his UG, he started working with Ashwin Alva Associates team at New Delhi, where he was engaged in various architectural projects. Later, he moved to Bhopal, where he continued his architectural practice with SAR as a senior architect and worked on various projects of different categories. With the acquired knowledge, he started his own practice at Trichy, and he is the principal founder of Signature Design. The firm Signature Design tries to understand the value of human psychology, thus trying to provide space for the human values, emotions by using sustainable and traditional materials with local craftsmen and techniques that are involved in the past. The practices focus majorly on crafting the spaces and adding more architectural values to the space created rather than approaching a building as a facade treatment alone. Keeping his ideologies through Signature Design, he worked various design projects and educational and commercial projects at different parts of Tamil Nadu. He is also an architectural academician, professor at Periyar Maniamma University, and also visited many architectural schools and given various lectures for the benefits of the student. As an academician, he always wanted to bridge the gap between and educate the students about the acquired theoretical knowledge and its practical applications in the reality. He is currently a research scholar at SRM University, Chennai, on the study and analysis of courtyard of Tamil Nadu and incorporating them for a wellness index of all inhabitants. To say about his achievements and awards, he is a vice chairman of Indian Institute of Architects, Trichy Center, and fellow member of Indian Institute of Architects, and a fellow member of Indian Institute of Valuer, and also he received a Young Member Architect Award in Tiruchirappalli in Indian Institute of Architects Tamil Nadu chapter in 2013 and 14 and 2016 and 17. Now, I leave a session to Architect Raja.
Good evening, one and all. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I thank SRM University and the Dean, my patron and my mentor, Satish Kumar, for this great opportunity. And I'm sure this session is going to be a very interesting one. And I thank all the SRM University faculty and students for attending this program. So I'll as we can, I'm G. Raja, as you know me very well. I'm a practicing architect and professor with Periyar Maniam University. Today, I'm going to talk about how we actually are going to shape the future after this COVID 2019. Okay, there are lots of questions which are involved with ourselves, like there are people who are talking about recession, they're talking about, the world is going to be different, how we are actually going to cope up with the world, how the world is going to change in aspects, how the design parameters are going to change, and how we are actually going to live in a different world altogether. That is what everyone's, concerned today. Today, we are all actually very much worried about, is the building industry is going to work for the future? The building industry will survive, or India will actually grow in the phase where we are actually looking at? If the economical, slowdown will happen? These are the questions we have put up in our mind. But what is the shaping of the future? I just quote this. This won't be the first time in history that cities and buildings will be reimagined in response to an increased understanding of a disease. Okay, I'll just put up my first question. This entire presentation, what I'm going to do is going to talk, evolve, and understand various parameters which are involved with this post-corona era, or the corona era in which we are living now. So I just want to actually make you understand basically what we are actually living in, what we are going to do, and what are the solutions which we are going to put up. So the first question we'll be putting up is post-corona, what we are actually doing in our house. Are we happy in our sweet home? Are we actually facing any challenges at home? Is there any space limitations which we feel? Are we confined ourselves into the system which we are living? See, first of all, we have to remember one thing very clearly. All the happy homes which you have made, it is all designed by us. We wanted to actually design our own home at our own comfort, but we actually did not understand that this is the home will be actually confined in itself. Today, we feel the kitchen in which my wife is cooking is not sufficient because I see her cooking. I actually feel my children who are actually, playing around are not having sufficient or efficient space because I have never seen them play for 24 hours. I seen them play only after they come back from the schools. Okay. Are we actually happy in an apartment? We said we are all very happy with the multi-story apartments and the confined spaces in it. And it has got all the parameters in all the facilities and comfort within itself. Are we happy with those enclosed forms? Happy with our own people, first of all? Are we happy with talking to our own people? The spaces which are created for me, for us, for my family, my children, is there a change of attitude? The first question which I have thrown. It is for ourselves, it is for the home. No social distancing, how will it happen? The second question, because we'll be going out, we know that we have actually engaged ourselves into a very big urban fabric, we are into a society. We actually lived in society and we live with people. See, I have given some example. The latest one, the Chittirai Tiruvizha, which was supposed to happen in Madurai, did not happen. Okay, this is the crowd pulling event and you could see lots of people there. And T Nagar, Ranganathan Street, imagine that you are the only person who is shopping for Diwali. How will that look like? Okay. Then Velankani festival where the flag hoisting is actually happening, there are no people around, then what will actually happen? Or Ajmer Dargah where people will queue up to pray, will that actually happen? Will there be a social distancing there? Okay, what we are doing, distancing has become getting us closer. Like we all said, like, the WhatsApps, the Facebook, and everything is actually, parting us from the society. It is actually making us, lonely. But today we are all connected because of this beautiful social media, which we call. The social media is actually connecting us. Today we are speaking just because of social media. We are all got connected with social media. Do we, for a moment, think technology will ever take place the human contact? Technology, yes, may temporarily fill the void left by our now shuttered offices, schools, and cultural institutions. but it'll never fulfill our need for a genuine human connection. See, that is what is actually human nature is all about. That is what is about human values are all about. So let us actually think about human values. How we gather and use our large public spaces like airports, hotels, hospitals, gyms and offices. They all are integral part of our life. This is all we call this urban fabric where we actually live. Designed for a world that will never be quite the same. Is that the question which architects are actually asking to us? Challenges ahead and new avenues are open. Just don't actually forget that. There are challenges ahead and new avenues are open. Architects and planners are going to create a new world. So we are all architects. We are all creators who are actually going to make a new world out of what exactly is there with us actually. You know, there are lots of parameters in which we could not work, where there are lots of limitations which we had. There are some compulsions which we had. Today, this entire scene is going to change because we are going to design a world which will be beautiful. A new avenue will be created. Okay, let me actually go back to the history and try to understand what history is saying about these epidemics and pandemics. You know, lots of things actually happen. We have studied in our architecture about a Romanesque architecture, started of Christian architecture in a grave, and you know went on to become a very big architecture altogether and a superpower altogether. In history, we have seen industrial revolution actually creating lots of different ideas to the people. So this won't be the first time in history that cities and buildings will be reimagined, redesigned in response to an increased understanding of a disease. The Haussmann's renovation of Paris is a great example. London's reconfigured infrastructure in the wake of cholera epidemic is a great example for us to understand and analyze the spatial planning. The 19th century New York's reaction, you know, for that squalid conditions of tenement houses, which really brought new ideas to the New Yorkers. Today, people actually live in a better spaces because of the idea or understanding which actually happened because of the diseases. Okay, that means architects are often inspired to come up with fresh ideas during those moments when we have got nothing else to do. Architecture actually starts with the, you know, the place where we have nothing to do. You know, we have seen it in the rock cut caves. You know, we have seen it in the caves of, primitive people, where people actually started understanding how to fill the space with their own creativity and idea, how to bring lots of new ideas and understanding to the spaces. Okay, let us actually think about what exactly can happen. There are architects, people and architects with lots of knowledge and courage. They have actually talked about BMS. We talked about automation systems. We talked about, you know, utility systems. But we know very well that, you know, people there looking at plumbers or the electricians to understand these parameters. But today, the practical solutions will actually, you know, differ. You know, people will start looking at architects, and the people will be looking at the public utility ideas through architects. Let's think about scientific approach. There will be more of automation systems like BMS, building management system, development of all types of touchless technologies like automatic door, voice activated elevators, cell phone controlled hotel room entry, hands-free light switches and temperature controls, and automated luggage bag tags, advanced airport check-in security, etc. As you can see, there is one photograph which I have shown where, you know, the hands-free lighting and curtains and temperature controls have been done in a senior living project. These are the fundamentals in which we'll be looking at a scientific approach to a problem which is raised through this disease. Second, what are the other solutions? Search for the architects. What are the solutions? You know, we'll be actually searching for the architect. More opportunities for hand washing and sanitizing. Today, we are all talking about hand washing. Have you ever seen a mall having a hand wash? No, we all confined all the plumbing systems inside a toilet. You have to search for the toilet. Today, we are actually thinking about hand washing and sanitizing. That means look into a more better plumbing and sanitary layouts, which will be actually governed or understood by the architects. RIFD technologies to make purchases, appropriate spatial planning and automation design will be done by the architects to understand. The temperature screening will be done. So it will be, we will be needing more confined spaces and some form of UV disinfecting places. And antibacterial fabrics and finishes, self-cleaning bathrooms, as well as pod rooms. See, Alvar Aalto was actually suggesting in 1950s when he was talking about this brass handles, where he said like we will not use those plastics and silver because if you use them, it will not disinfect. But if you use a rough structure like copper, today we are all drinking water from copper vessels. Oliver Alto in 1950, an architect's imagination is coming through good now, because we are going to use those kind of materials which are going to actually make our spatial planning better. And search for the architects in urban design, search for architects in spaces. More extrovert spatial planning is needed. Actually, people need more of an open spaces, how to get an idea of open spaces, how to create spaces within ourselves. It is not places which are confined. We'll actually have more of open spaces, the spaces which interact with each other. That is what is the idea which is going to be after our COVID. And more parks and open spaces will be actually understood, and new norms for spatial planning per person will be understood. A defined set of planning rules for public utilities will be framed, and new set of rules for the urban density will be actually understood. See, please understand, there is one, for an example, we were all designing corridors. When we were designing corridors in our buildings, the people said make lesser number of corridors and make shorter width of corridors. Now you need social distancing. The more of a good corridor, that means more of a realm of a public space. The space is going to be more open. The people were talking about, when we said about setbacks, when we said about open areas, people neglected us. Today it is time we can actually talk about those open spaces and the setbacks which we are going to actually arrange. What are the solutions in the healthcare system? See, in Ugan, they have created one hospital just in. Just imagine a situation where you don't have beds for patients. Today, this COVID spread in a smooth way. But what will happen if the healthcare design is not understood properly and is not getting upgraded? We still think this. We still think the solutions of healthcare, we actually reduce the number of flat surfaces. Healthcare design will study how we actually understand how to install the ventilating system that allow the removing potentially contaminated air from given any area. How will we do it? We'll be actually looking at more of a traditional way of understanding, to try to understand how the open spaces will be working, how the private realm will actually work. Number of sick people. There are other abilities. Say for an example, we actually keep our ICUs in the front of a hospital design. Now the parameter is going to change, because the hospital ICU, which is spreading all this, the core flow of infectious situation will actually happen from the ICU. So architects help people start to think of public spaces more like home and less like someone else's space. It is not correct solution to give up urbanity and density. As I have taken the first slide, I said that how are we going to actually organize the festivals? Are we going to actually create social distancing in our urban setup? Are we actually going to forget the T-Nagar area? Are we going to actually forget our festivals? We will not do that. We will actually have a correct solution to give up urbanity and density. Will not be possible to. At last, human is a social animal. We'll have our. First of all, we have to understand a small theory. Symbiotic relationship between cities, architecture, and epidemics has always been complicated. Disease and its aftermath have prompted our cities to morph and progress. Yet the design and inherent density of our cities plays a role in enabling disease to spread. Simply change the way we interact with the built environment. That is what we are actually going to do, and we have to think about it. That already exists. The debate around the impact of density on public health will continue to rage as architects and planners weigh how to design buildings and cities that cater to both environmental and public health. So it will actually ask for a solution. what ways and how tackle the issues. Our past had solutions. We live in a cramped urban jungles where breathing is tough. Apartment doesn't offer any common space. Like we actually live in spaces where we don't know other people. We don't know the other door. We don't know who are the people who are actually sitting with there. The person who is there next to my house is actually spreading a disease or not. That is my question, first of all. Today, I'm actually afraid of talking to the second person. So where are those past made a pass? No verandas to make a pass, no open spaces. So what is the solution? But architectural design solutions which were there in the vernacular practice. Let us actually look back in the vernacular practice and try to understand what it could actually give it to us. Water points. The necessary and immediate public health 19 is through the washing of hands. Modern have no taps near the ground. When we were there in our old houses where we had actually a beautiful thinnai, we had an entrance where, you know, we had a small bucket which is having water. We washed our legs and went inside. But what happened today? We don't have anything. We are just, you know, entering into the house straight away with all the germs and diseases. We don't have any place. Have any waterways. It actually interacts with your spaces. We don't even interact with our rains. We are all afraid of rains nowadays. We don't actually, you know, let our children actually go into the rains. We don't encourage the open spaces inside our spaces. Historical places were deeply sensitive to the transmissive dangers of gathering. People did understand. If you see the Roman architecture, the provision of fountains supplied from far away, they have actually taken it from aqueducts and to the growing city. Allowed for the hydration of pilgrims itself is a public health support, and everyday practices of washing and laundry is a very important factor. Water points. If you see actually those water plants at Trevis Fountain at Rome and other fountains in Rome, you can see there is a great amount of interaction of waterways to the urban nature. Second, if you see this Islamic architecture or Islamic mosque, when we actually get in, we see this wudu, the ritual cleansing before the prayers. It's a model of a transformed practices, how we actually adopt those practices into our system. The water points in our temples, you know, like the place where we actually lived. If you see our temples, they have this tepakulam. You have to wash, you have to wash yourself, you have to cleanse yourself, you have to sanitize yourself getting into a temple, because it is not the temple which is getting sanitized, it is the people, the urban density which is actually getting sanitized. The people are actually getting sanitized, the crowd is actually getting sanitized. Okay, there are other friends which are there, the guards which we have seen, the amma mandapams which we have seen. Yes, sir. Learn from the local materials. This is newest corona is here to attach well to modern materials like glass and some metal alloys and plastic. But we look at the West. Yesterday, I was actually looking at some of the Yatin Pandya sir's works, and he was actually talking about if you put up a facade in Rome, you put up an example of a facade in Thiruvananthapuram, all they look same, because we are actually looking at the West for our solutions. Those metal alloys and the glasses and the plastics, which are actually shiny surfaces, which does not actually give us, it gives a potentially the risky way of cleanliness. In contrast, the roughness of organic surfaces such as fabrics and possibly wood and raw ceramics appear to break up the RNA chains of the COVID. That is what we actually study in our scientific understanding of that COVID-19. We see in our temples, is the old people who are actually fools who did not polish the granite. At temple at Tanjavur, but they did not polish the granite. They actually put the rough granite there to make an understanding and try to actually, you know, make a better understanding. The brass handles far faster degradation of viral material on copper. More materials in the past which were rough, unfinished in its original forms for the better physical context and the health benefits. It actually removes the virus and the bacteria faster. I come to my topic. This is my research in which I'm actually working. This is a courtyard, a porches and lobbies. See, the courtyard allowed the household to interact with sunlight and open air without needing to step into public realm. If you remember the first space which I was talking about, I said, why do you actually feel uncomfortable in a house? Why do you feel uncomfortable in the house? Because you don't have a space where you can interact with people, where you can actually, live yourself with the nature. There is a problem understanding the public realm inside our own residential premises. That is what is the problem. We did not understand the public realm inside ourselves. We did not let the environment and ecology to come inside our spaces. We always wanted them to get away from us, and we thought that we are sanitizing ourselves, but we are not sanitizing ourselves. Living with them will make us more sanitized. So these are the kind of spaces which can actually give you interactions with the sunlight and open air without needing a step into the public realm. Just imagine if you are actually living in this kind of a space in a quarantine situation like that, how well you will enjoy that space, because the enjoyment of the space will be given through openness inside it actually. So this is a place where you store provisions, hang out, dry. You actually allow the children to play, to hear each other's sound of health and distress. See, people actually get rejuvenated from the diseases only through spaces. Spatial planning is a very important aspect. We're all more concerned, but in vernacular architecture, it is never, it's a very big concern to understand the spatial planning inside. That is what we are actually we try to understand. I take a picture of one Chettinad house here. All we know about this, we have studied in our architecture, we know about this. Are we trying to understand what is the spaces which are created? I've seen people ask for Chettinad houses. They make those pillars, they make this Italian marbles and Arthangudi tiles. They don't understand the spaces which are created by those people to provide sanitation and social distancing. The spaces which are there in the front isolate the visitors. The spaces which are actually, in the second part of the spaces, which actually brings the people who become, little bit more cleaner. Then we actually sanitize people with the wash areas in courtyard and park. Interact with the sunlight, because today we say corona will die in sunlight, all diseases will die in sunlight, but we don't let sunlight inside. We always pack ourselves and put an air conditioner. Space created for bringing the sunlight and ventilation, a public realm in private housing. Then the past space which is created between the living and the services to create sanctuary. They actually started creating, they created spaces which part two spaces, Within ourselves, we try to understand what is more needed, what needed as a place where we actually, get together into social understanding. Then where is the place where we actually need to maintain our social distancing? Where is the germs coming from? Where is the diseases are coming from? They try to understand. This is all a research which we have to work and try to understand in a more modern way. More scientific approach should be understood and applied so that we can actually understand and identify the fabric. Second, keeping the services apart to sanitize the system. Today we actually have our attached toilets, but more of understanding should be understood. More of understanding the germ should not come out. What is the idea which we are going to work on it? All these things has to be understood and properly led. This is money housing. The people understood the climate and adaptation of a healthy environment. The using of material which are sustainable and health conscious. I've seen in my old times, I've seen the gobar is actually, nalla sani karachu, they used to actually, throw it outside in the verandas. But nowadays we don't see all these things. There is no relationship between the earth and the man. We used to walk barefoot and we used to live in barefoot, but earth is not contacting with the man. So we are not creating any kind of immunization to ourselves. using materials which are sustainable and health conscious, spatial values with distances create more healthy environment. As you can see in this beautiful bunny housing society, you can see there is a large opening which is created here. There's a social distancing between the different houses, and there is another pass space which is created here, and pass spaces which are created in between. It actually creates more of an understanding or more of an adaptation to health and environment. Medicinal gardens and better landscapes. Are we actually looking at landscapes? No, we actually have, bottle plants. We try to, architects need to educate people about how we actually create these herbal gardens and medicinal gardens. It actually, see, a knowledge of medicinal plant include over a dozen commonly used indigenous ones used to alleviate flu symptoms. Simple things actually, they take away flu symptoms from you. You just, chew two tulasis, then everything will actually go off from you. Corona, if you actually take, put some tulasi inside your stomach, then everything will be all right. These all are the things which actually create a healthy environment. It creates more of a lively understanding. It actually creates more livable spaces. The understanding of togetherness with the environment also happens. I come to my last of my conclusion. I'm actually taking a beautiful temple in which I'm going to talk about. A Gopuram is a place where I was, how a space actually gets sanitized. From a Gopuram, I was directed to a space called a Mandapam. First of all, architectural emotions are created through that Gopura. That's one kind of a psychological advantage, because a disease can be cured through the psychological understanding also. That is one of the fabrics which been included by the vernacular people in the earlier times, or the people who understood architecture better. First of all, that is one parameter. Second parameter, I was actually, allowed into a space, a mandapam, where a pass space is created. Now, see, there are so many people inside that temple complex, but they are all actually isolated or kept in a regular interval so that they actually keep a very healthy environment altogether. I go to a pond, kulam, to sanitize myself, dipping into that kulam. And then I actually take a straight path, shift in the a direct shift in the axis with series of columns. I touch them, feel them, walk into them, and a rough granite to walk, and physically an activity. All follows a rhythm, headed to a dark room with a bearing of a light, a fragrance of a dhoop or a kapoor to sanitize my inner soul and my physical soul, giving prasada from a herbal resource inside the temple, really cleanse myself. And I have, which is that particular climate has been understood. I've seen in Srirangam, whenever we go, we see that, beautiful, prasada of Tulasi is actually given. The temple as a whole creates a magical van to space making with physical and mental benefits. Telling you, jump into new ideas to create healthy spaces. World is looking at architects to design better spaces. Use technology and tradition. It is not only I'm talking about vernacular techniques or the traditional understanding, but use technology and tradition to serve the mankind. Do take concern about environment and ecology, and that will actually give you new challenges and opportunities to shaping the future is in the hands of architects. You must understand, shaping the future is in the hands of architects. Architects must really understand what is an urban fabric, what is a built form, what is the understanding of health parameters. All these things together, architects can surely shape the future. It is the opportunity for all of us in COVID 2019 to build a better world which has new challenges, which has new opportunities, new understanding that will shape surely the future of our hands. Let's make a better world for everyone. We'll see these kind of pictures that are really actually, heartwarming. Today we see all these environment and ecology coming together. I hope tomorrow's world, which is going to be built by the architects, because we are the ones who are actually going to make lots of concrete jungle. We are not environmentalists. we are going to make this concrete jungles, but how well we are actually going to incorporate our environment, ecology, and ourselves into the system. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We had a great session with you. Dear participant, you can post your questions to the moderator in the chat box.
Professor Raja, I would like to start with that. I know very well, it's a very amazing presentation and you will rock, I know, and you have made it. As you rightly said, COVID-19 is not only a curfew, not only a kind of a crisis, but honestly to say, it is an opportunity for all of us, not only for architects as such, also for everybody. We understood our family, we understood our purpose of life, we understood our living, we understood our culture, we understood the style of living, or a different kind of living, what we missed out all these days. And also as an architect, we see the challenges what we have today, what kind of buildings we are supposed to create, not only buildings or any kind of space as such. I'm sure the urban planning or rural planning, or even city planning or town planning or country planning or even a small interior design spaces, everything will definitely change. And this, thanks to COVID-19, which has given us a good opportunity as a challenge. Right? Thank you so much, Professor Raja. You have made it amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, I'm also receiving some questions in my chat box, so I would like to post the same to you. Isn't architecture for uncertainty an integral proactive process rather than a reactive process? Your thoughts on the same, please.
Oh, I couldn't get it. Can you repeat it?
Isn't architecture for uncertainty an integral proactive process? They're asking it is a proactive process rather than a reactive process. So your thoughts on the same.
That's what I was actually telling all about, we need to actually, we are people who are, architects are people who change, because we have all inner thoughts. Sometimes it is very difficult for us to actually, react to the situations, The problem is actually the people who are coming to us. Say, if you see, once upon a time, before Renaissance, they said the sun is actually sun is revolving around Earth. But people start understanding through dialogues, through interactions. That times, you have to keep them. That's what is actually happening. I'm sure this will actually happen. We'll be more proactive.
Okay.
So one more questions we have. Like all the traditional materials of housings are compiled in the popular method called Vastu Shastra. So when we follow this method, the spaces are already defined to be in certain places. So as an architect, what do we play in designing the house when planning and materials are already defined?
I'm not able to hear you properly.
Am I audible?
I'm not audible that much. I'm not able to hear you.
All the traditional methods of housing are compiled in a popular method called Vastu Shastra. So when we follow this method, the spaces are already defined to be in a certain places. So as an architect, what role do we play in designing the house when planning and materials are already defined?
No, that is the I actually I have a different thought on Vastu Shastra. Vastu Shastra defines with the spaces, defines with the region. It has got different ideas to different regions. Okay, say for an example, a hot and airy climate, or hot humid condition, or hot dry climate. There are lots of differences between these. Say for an example, in North India, we have almost 8 months of heated, cold weather. Yeah, only for 2 months they have a very hot and airy climate. Here in Tamil Nadu, we are having a hot and humid condition for almost the entire year. We don't have winters. Just imagine you are actually putting up your master bedroom in the southwest, and you are exposing the entire wall to the sun, which is revolving around your southern hemisphere from 12 o'clock to say 6:30. then what will happen to your room? All those things which are actually observed will be actually taken inside your house. Will you be actually, will you be able to, sleep properly in that room? See, we have to put up our questions very clearly. Analytically and scientifically, we need to really analyze on every parameter. We study climatology. We know the fabric of climatology very well. Try to understand each and every fabric or built environment with the help of climatology. Understand it and design. Let us not actually design with some kind of a common set of parameters. I don't say vernacular architecture, it doesn't come under vernacular or traditional architecture. Vastu Shilpa Shastra. Vastu Shastra.
Yeah, sir. One more question, sir. How do we connect the old age scenarios of architecture presented here in the existing urban society?
We are actually, there are lots of buildings which I built today. People actually talk about courtyards. It is how we actually connect people. How do we actually give them more spaces? There are spaces which are created very well in the older times. We try to accommodate those spaces. Try to convince the client. Try to understand. There are people are more knowledgeable today. Surely you can accommodate. It is a knowledge which you have to acquire. You have to go and understand. You have to actually go and research. You have to go and understand. You feel that space. All these things, if done properly, then you can actually design that traditional building into the modern building system. Surely you can do that.
And how we can make better interior spatial planning and future design after this situation?
Oh, that's what I'm asking you. I asked the first question very clearly to you. Are you comfortable at your home? You said you have made a beautiful bedroom with 2 tons of AC, air conditioner, and beautiful, Kurlan foamed, pillow and bed, and you have a beautiful bed. Are you comfortable now? You have to, introspect, what you are going to do. What are you comfortable? Are you actually, what is the interior which you said? The false ceilings which I have created, the lights which I have created, this is all comfortable with you. What is the kind of an interaction which you are going to do? Say for an just imagine one space, like I'm telling you, I have a dream, Syria. I actually will build one beautiful house in the hilltop, okay? I'll be actually, looking down a ocean, from my bedroom with glass windows or whatever it is. It is scientific, it is more technically advanced system, from there I'll be actually hearing Ilayaraja songs, and I'll be looking down and see the ocean on the whole hilltop. It is how we perceive, how do we understand, how we actually get to know the environment, how do we know and specialize our building spaces. I always tell in our architectural practice also, we always design spaces. We don't design facades. Because most of the people come to us, they come up with, sir, elevation podu kudunga. Architect na elevation podu kudukurathu. Sir, you put up an elevation for us. We never do that. We always tell them, we are architects who create each and every space for you. I talk to the smallest kid in their house. I tell you, one girl who got married recently, she came to me and said, Uncle, Roman Allah Panindinga, you're the architect now, husband, or 10 வருஷம் கழிச்சு எனக்கு introduce பண்ணிட்டா. Even in the bedroom la நம்ம தூங்கினோம்ல, that bedroom only I was actually staying. Yesterday night we were staying in that bedroom that is designed by architect G. Raja. How well I have actually perceived the idea of that girl. That is what is very, very important. We need to really understand. It is not only space making. It is about a behavioral aspect of particular person also. Like I will be liking something, somebody else will be liking something. I cannot copy an internet and put up that interiors into our system.
Any other questions from the participants?
Yes, Kritika, I would like to take a question which is here on my window. Yeah. Does COVID-19 really make an impact on architecture and social distancing? It's very easily said that after 2 to 3 years, people will forget all this and start living back to the normal routine unless they face the next pandemic for the next 100 years, maybe. So we'll
Don't
all
forget
go
it,
back.
sir. Sir, you don't forget. Architect, you don't forget, sir. Designer, don't forget. See, doctors will they forget COVID-19? No, they will not forget. The pharmaceutical companies will forget COVID-19. They will not forget, sir. Why they will not forget? Because if it does come back, if it comes back, or if there is more epidemic like that, what will happen to you? See, people will be, the administrative will be, people will be talking about more hospitals. The people will be talking about more infrastructure in hospitals. The people will be talking about more confinement in the ICUs. All these things, like the people will be talking about a room which can be accommodated. No, tomorrow I tell you, the big Apollos and KMCs, when they actually start designing a room, if they don't ask for it also, you tell them. Because நம்ம ஊர்ல actually if you see a Brahmin Pandit, sir, do it. If you don't do it, I can't help it. So you also say that. No, you don't forget. You tell the hospital management that COVID-like epidemic comes. What will happen? You create a room which can accommodate an ICU, which can actually accommodate a ventilator. You talk like that. Say, first of all, we have to educate ourselves. We don't budge. This is a chance for us. This is an opportunity for us. This is an opportunity where we can actually create, using this opportunity, create better spaces.
And one more question we have, sir. Like we all know that India is a land of urban slum. What are the challenges to us in the relying for slum redevelopment?
I didn't get you.
We all know that India is a land of urban slum. What are the challenges to us in the realm of slum redevelopment?
Slum redevelopment is a great question which we asked. Who are the people? We only actually shifted these people, you know. Now let's actually look at the transportation engineers. Let us actually look at, no, we only actually created this urban slums, you know. We wanted these multi-story buildings to be built, and we actually created these urban centers. Because we created these urban centers, we wanted people, laborers, we wanted housewives, we wanted servants to be really nearer to us. This, if you see this one advertisement of a company in which they say, like, you know, it is very nearer to, give them a transportation facility, give them proper transportation facility, give them an understanding. There were people, I tell you, ma'am, when I was doing my construction activities, I tell you, there were people who were coming from rural areas. They were bringing sabji in the morning, that is vegetable in the morning, to the building construction site. They used to sell that sabji. They used to work from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock. They go back to the rural areas. We are not giving awareness to the people about rural settlements, and we are actually giving lots of freebies also. So we have to change ourselves. Let us think about our slum redevelopment also. Where are we actually keeping our slum redevelopment? Let us actually speak to the all those urban planners, town planners, and architects. You speak to the architect, to the government, concerned government administration. Tell them, don't make these matchboxes. Tell them, make them more healthy environment, make them good environment, give them good sanitization. No, all these things is possible if we speak. Architects are not speaking. That is the problem. Architects should speak. We should actually think about slum redevelopment. We should think about how to relocate the slum. We should actually think about how these urban spaces can be much, much better. I tell you, there are people who want to run today to the suburbs. If tomorrow you give me a pass, e-pass, then I'll run to my farmhouse, because I have no business here in Tiruchi center. When I don't have any business here in Tiruchi center, I'll be running to the rural areas. So you try to understand what is the kind of ability, transportation, and access which you are giving it to the people. If you give proper spaces to the people, and tomorrow I tell you, this agriculture is also very, very important. We need to really look into agriculture and put these people who are there from the rural, in the rural side only. Let us not bring them to the urban centers and create more slums.
It's very amazing, Raja. And I request the moderator also. No, I think we are running short of time. So whatever questions you get, no, kindly mail to the speaker. I think he could communicate to them accordingly. Just to wrap up before the moderator close, I would like to put up the last question to you. It is very simple. I know that you are very active participant from IAA, COA, and also in many court cases also you filed for the TNCDBR along with the Trichy Center
Yes.
architects. Great applause to you all together. And I would like to tell you, you have to tell us a few words to these participants. What are the efforts you have taken in this TNCDBR and also into the council activities along with a few other architects from Trichy?
Yes, sir. In Indian Institute of Architect Trichy Center is a very active center. We are actually looking at how to solve the problems of architects. You know, as a professional body, we want to educate the architects first. That is very, very important. Engage a fraternity with full of youngsters. Try to actually accommodate to a better environment. You know, that is one thing which we are trying to do. We want to engage youngsters. We want to actually put up more knowledge to them, and we want to actually tell them that professional body is actually, you know, coping with them. That is first one. IAA Trichy Center, as you know, there's a very active center in Tamil Nadu, and one of the center which won its best center award for almost 2-3 times in the national level itself, actually. So we are actually working on lots of parameters. So normally, say for an example, in our Kaveri Bridge, a beautiful bridge, Kaveri Bridge, which is there in our city. So what they have done, they put up this yellow and blue color tiles. They put a concrete wall, put a yellow and blue color tiles. No one could see what is actually coming, what is there. I mean, before there were jollies, you know, everyone could see the view of the river. Now no one could actually see the view of the river. Everyone could see only the yellow and blue color tiles. After sometimes, you know, people started putting posters also. Now our one of the mentors, you know, like our senior architect Shanmugam, and we all with the architect Annamalai, our chairman, we decided to put up a case against that also, and we got it done. You know, we demolished the entire wall, and we got done this small jollies back. Okay, so that now you can visualize this. Architect Jaisim, who was there that day, he was telling me he was very happy. He said, like, you know, I'm so happy to actually see this Kaveri Bridge with the jollies. You know, that is one thing. This IAA Trichy Center, we always put up lots of effort onto that. We write to the Council of Architecture. You know, we write to the Council of Architecture for its intervention in the academics also, because we have so many colleges in Tiruchirappalli where we actually find if there is any problem, they have some kind of a problem towards, you know, giving good academics to the students of architecture. It's very, very important. The future generation is the one which is going to be very important, and which is going to govern us. It is going to make us proud, which is going to build more built environment. If we don't actually make them good, if we don't educate them properly, then everything will go vain. So I always insisted and talked to the Council of Architecture, and from Trichy Center also, we wrote lots of letters raising our concerns about academics, raising our concerns about the about every action council is actually taking. And I have spoken to architect the Dean sir about this council's activity, and I have always written letters, lots of letters to Council of Architecture as the Secretary of Indian Staff Architect Trichy Center. And mobilizing, you know, whatever the problems. When the president comes, we always had a very good interaction with the president. We have given our memorandum to them. We actually talked to them. We try to actually give our best through IAA Trichy Center. Next thing, there was a problem with this TNCDBR, Tamil Nadu Combined Development Building Rules. Okay, now when this Tamil Nadu Combined Building Development Rules came, we saw that draft. We were very shocked, because I feel architects are the people who are having eligible knowledge about built environment. The built environment is governed by architects. I'm not saying we are the whole. Yes, we are the whole. All the people who are associated with us are going to work with us. See, I have never seen 10 architects working in any building which is built by 10 architects. Only one architect who governs the entire fabric. You know, the built environment or the building industry or the building science, we learned, and we are there for building industry. Okay. Now in TNCDBR, they have tried to replace us. They put architect or engineer. They put some lots, there are lots of specifications, lots of rules and regulations. Our own responsibility and rules were actually taken by the engineers. We spoke to the government. We said to the government, it is subjudicial, so I don't want to elaborate much about that. But we spoke to the government. We wrote letters to the government as early when they actually brought these drafts. We told the government that this is wrong. You need some changes in this. We need to understand the bylaws very well. We need to understand the town planning rules very well. You cannot actually have a center place for anything. Say for an example, I tell you one good example. They say combined building development rules. Okay, sitting in Madras, how can you actually judge a place in Tiruchirappalli? The Mylapore parking area is different from Kumbakonam's parking area, right, sir? There are two different things. Two different places are there. Two different places needs two different understanding. A common building development rules cannot be accommodated, and people who don't see anything and they actually going to sign from the top is not going to work for us well. So we decided, we spoke to them, we wrote letters, our chairman and our senior members, they spoke, they wrote letters to to the government, but there was no response from the government. Okay, so the government gazetted the entire fabric. The TNCDPR gazetted in February. So we decided that let us yes sir, sir. So we decided to actually put up a case in the Madurai High Court, Chennai Madras High Court of Madurai bench, challenging the TNCDPR, we asked some prayers. I request everyone to kindly, architects here, kindly go through that prayers of TNCDPR and try to understand what we are actually trying to achieve, through our IAA Trichy Center, because it is very important because it is even about the survival of architects. It is the survival of building industry. It is the survival of this built environment. It is about the bylaws of built environment. It is about the fabric of built environment. All these things can be actually governed only by the architects. Architects, town planners are the people who I believe can actually make lots of changes. People have lots of knowledge about building industry, can only make challenges. That is the reason why this Tamil Nadu combined building development rules have been challenged by the IAA Trichy Center.
Thank you, Raja. You made it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We had a great session with you. You have beautifully explained about the traditional practice which we have in the olden days. And thank you, participants. Thank you so much for all the people who make your presence for this sessions. And also, we are looking forward to have you in other celebrity talks in another 3 more days. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, Dean sir.
Thank you, Kritika ma'am. Thank you, Dean sir.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raja sir. It was a resonating speech. Your presentation was resonating. I can still hear it in my ears. Wonderful talk, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anup sir. It is all your courage you have given.
Yeah,
I know, Raja. For Raja, this 1 hour is not enough.
Yes.
Thank you for the trust. Thank you so much, Esther ma'am. Shall I leave?
Yes, sir. We've come to the end of the session. Dear audience, those of you who have participated in this event and have registered at the beginning of the Zoom, those who have participated for minimum 40 minutes, the certificates will be issued to you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation. We look forward for more participation in the days to come. You can follow our Facebook page to be aware of all other programs that we are up to. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll be posting the Facebook link in the chat box before we quit the session. So quickly you can check it out.
One more question from the participants do we have to send any details through mail for certification?
Sorry?
Whether they are asking whether they need to send any details for the certificate.
No, if they have registered at the beginning of the session, when they've registered in Zoom, we'll be sending them certificates based on the registration. So, dear participants, I have shared the link for Facebook. It is just said SRM, SAID SRM. So, if you go Facebook, you can follow this link, and we'll be going offline in 4, 3, 2, 1, and see you all later.